It is time for another NBA injury report, bringing you into the weekend. We've got a pretty big NBA slate, some key injuries, as per usual, to hit on. Also, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Any questions you guys have at all, you know the drill. Leave it in the comment section below. I'll be circling back and answering some of those later on in the day. But for now, let's talk about tonight's slate and some of the situations kind of the same as yesterday. I do want to point out this, though. If we get any questions about the San Antonio Spurs, a bunch of those guys were out yesterday. It looks like they're all going to be back today. We had a lot of them taken off the injury report. So my assumption is that we see guys like DeJounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl all playing today because they were listed as out yesterday. They're not on the injury report. Maybe that was an oversight. Could be something we get more information on later in the day. So we'll be hitting on that in the deeper dive and live before lock. But talking about the injury situations with players who are officially listed as questionable, starting with the Chicago Bulls, Coby White, Zach LaVine, both officially listed as questionable. I tend to think Zach LaVine is a lot more likely to sit than he is to play. Just regarding some of his comments after the Bulls game last night, he really indicated that he was not feeling particularly great physically, might need to take some time off. I'm assuming Zach LaVine does not play today. Coby White, I have less of a read on. I'm really not sure what to make of him. If Zach LaVine is out and Coby White is in, I would like getting to Coby White in this spot. I think that he would be somebody to pick up extra usage. And then also when you consider that we're already down Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, we've already seen Coby White playing more extended minutes. He could really be in line for a big role. But now what happens if Zach LaVine and Coby White are both out? Then I think we're just looking at massive minutes for Ayo Dosunmu, which isn't that much different from what we've seen in recent games. Last handful of games for the Chicago Bulls, Dosunmu 42 minutes, 36 minutes, 34 minutes, 36 minutes, 38 minutes. I understand the 42-minute game was an overtime situation, but if we're going to be taking Zach LaVine and Coby White off the court, we could be looking at Dosunmu playing nearly the entirety of the game. Probably I'd be projecting for somewhere around 40 minutes in that situation. I don't totally buy into all his recent production. There's been a lot of assists have gone his way. He's also shot a crazy high percentage from the field as a starter. That's something that's not going to be sustainable. But at his current price tag, if we're going to get him for around 40 minutes, I wouldn't mind playing him. There'll also be a little bit more usage to go to Vucevic and DeRozan if LaVine is out. But if he plays, no reason to consider either of them. But overall, Bulls, certainly a situation we want to keep an eye on. Guys like Coby White, Dosunmu, they have the most to benefit if LaVine doesn't play. The next spot, the Indiana Pacers. And I know that nobody wants to have to deal with the Isaiah Jackson chalk situation again because it was a disaster the other day. We were all playing Isaiah Jackson, or at least I was. I assume a lot of other people were as well. Lasted 22 seconds before he rolled his ankle, gets hurt. So he's on the court for one play, gets hurt. He is not going to play today. He is joined on the injury report by Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, TJ Warren, Malcolm Brogdon, TJ McConnell. They were all out for the Indiana Pacers. In addition, Goga Bitadze, questionable. O'Shea Brissett, questionable. We could see a really shorthanded Indiana. Well, it's going to be shorthanded no matter what, considering the guys who are out. But in the front court, this could be a ridiculously shorthanded team. If Goga Bitadze and O'Shea Brissett are both out, the tallest available player the Pacers have is going to be Torrey Craig at 6'7". The second tallest thing is Terry Taylor at 6'6". Not a lot of size on this Indiana Pacers team. So let's just walk through a couple of different situations here. Assuming Goga plays, I like him a lot in the mid-range on both FanDuel and DraftKings. We've seen him produce some pretty big fantasy upside games as the starting center without Domantas Sabonis. Just the question becomes, does Goga play? He's averaging right around 30 fantasy points per game as a starter this year with the upside to go for 40 plus. Now, if Goga is out, then I think Brissett probably plays extended minutes and could move into the starting lineup. But once again, he's questionable. So what happens if Goga and Brissett both sit? I guess we see Terry Taylor plays center minutes as just a really undersized center. He did this against the Orlando Magic last game. The Magic have a pretty significant size front court. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., two actual center-type players are out there. Mo Bamba being a 7-footer. And Taylor held his own against them. He ended up pulling down 16 rebounds. He put up 24 points. So I assume that the Pacers would go to Terry Taylor as their starting center if Brissett and Goga Bitadze are both out. So different permutations of value situations. The best possible value play we could get here would be Terry Taylor starting at center without Bitadze and Brissett. Bitadze is a good play if he's in. If Bitadze's out and O'Shea Brissett is in, then Brissett's a good play. Lots of different variables in that situation. Next one, Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham, he missed last night's game. He's going to be out once again today. We also have Josh Jackson out. I don't think this situation brings any crazy amount of value. If I had to roster one guy from this team, it would be Corey Joseph. Joseph started yesterday, played extended minutes. He's been starting lately for the Detroit Pistons. His production as a starter isn't crazy good, though. He's made 14 starts this year, averaging just under 30 minutes and 23 fantasy points. So as the slate currently stands, if you were building lineups with Cade Cunningham out, like I've done so far, I get to some of Corey Joseph and a little bit of Frank Jackson. But here's the caveat there. I assume on a slate of this size with a bunch of players who are questionable in the injury report, 9-game slate, we're probably going to get better value plays by the time the slate actually locks. So as of right now, a little bit of extended minutes to Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson to a lesser extent with Cade Cunningham out. But I assume I'm not going to ultimately end up getting to these guys at any kind of real bulk by the time we get to lock. There's a little more usage to go to guys like Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey, but they've both been priced up after yesterday's game. So lower priority plays for me. Today's show, as it usually is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. They sponsor the NBA Injury Report every day. Do me a favor. If you have not signed up for Yahoo, click on the link in the description box below. Head on over to Yahoo, make an account, make a deposit, enter a contest. Get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Really low-cost way to get behind our paywall and see all the tools we have to offer for basically every single DFS sport out there. Stop guessing, start winning, join Awesemo Plus today. Couple more injury situations to hit on next. Going to go over Darius Garland. He has missed some time lately for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's going to be out again. He practiced earlier, so it seems like he's probably closer to getting to return to the court for Cleveland. He was recently named as an All-Star, which I was pretty excited about. I do have bets on Darius Garland to win Most Improved Player of the Year. I still think there's some value there if anybody wants to jump on that. But that aside, Darius Garland, what can we expect from the Cleveland Cavaliers? Where Brandon Goodwin started at point guard last game, ended up putting up a pretty good fantasy game, played 32 minutes, scored just under 30 fantasy points. Considering his price is still cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings, I love getting to Brandon Goodwin again today. I think that he should play extended minutes. He appears to be ahead of Rajon Rondo in the Cavs rotation. Somebody else to look at, Cedi Osman. I understand he sucked in a big way last game from a fantasy standpoint. His assist numbers were definitely hurt playing alongside Brandon Goodwin, as opposed to Cedi being the point guard where he started point guard 2 games ago. But still, with that said, we got 36 minutes out of Cedi last game. Considering we could probably likely expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 36 to 40 minutes from Cedi again today, his price has come up on FanDuel and DK, so it's not the same as when he was close to min price salary. But I still think there's some upside in Cedi. He's somebody I'm going to have projected right in the neighborhood of 30 fantasy points at his salary. He's certainly going to be in my player pool. Goodwin is the highest priority here, but Cedi also is still somebody to consider. The final injury piece that we have to talk about today, it's going to come from the Atlanta Hawks. So the Hawks, we did see Trae Young was listed as questionable yesterday, ended up playing, had a really big game, went off against the Phoenix Suns. But for today, Trae Young off the injury report, but John Collins is questionable, Lou Williams is questionable, Danilo Gallinari is out. So here's what's been going on in the front court for the Atlanta Hawks as of late. They've been splitting minutes at center between Okongwu and Clint Capella, and then John Collins, who previously was playing some center minutes, he lost all of that playing time, and so we've just seen him playing right around 30 minutes per game because he's just playing his power forward minutes. He's not picking up center minutes. However, if Collins is going to be out tonight, I think we could see some lineups where Okongwu and Clint Capella play together, and I think that really benefits Capella here because Capella is way priced down versus what we've seen from some of his historical pricing. And even though he hasn't had the best season of his career or anything like that, he's still a good enough fantasy producer. He scores well over a fantasy point per minute for the season. Overall, 29 minutes per game, 34 fantasy points. So now if we're going to see Clint Capella get back over 30 minutes, maybe playing some minutes alongside Okongwu, he's just way too cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings. That is only in the situation where John Collins ends up sitting. If John Collins plays, I think we could kind of avoid all of these Atlanta guys. But if Collins is out, and also with Danilo Gallinari out, I think we would see bigger lineups for the Hawks. More of that playing time going to Capella. He would be a priority for me. One other guy to consider, DeAndre Hunter. I think his minutes are really secure with Gallinari out. But the really key situation here, John Collins, if he sits, I'm going to be playing some Clint Capella, and I don't think he's going to be all that popular. That is going to do it for the NBA Injury Report today. Once again, like the video. Subscribe to the channel, guys. If you haven't done it yet, it really does help us out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And if you have any questions at all, hit me up on Twitter. Leave a comment below in the comment section. It could be anything. You could ask a question. You could tell me what you think about my shirt. It's a Lilo and Stitch shirt. You could talk about that. You could talk about the thumbnail. Anything, leave a comment. All of the engagement is appreciated. Good luck, guys. Have a good weekend.